Hello, everyone. Hey, guys. I think people are still slowly making their way into the webinar. So I'm going to give this a few more minutes just to let people come in, and I'm going to just check who we have visiting us. This is always very exciting. There are people from all over the world. Oh, someone's joining. It's 1 a.m. That's a lot of dedication. We really appreciate that. Just a reminder, because we get this question a lot, this is going to be recorded and it will be sent to you guys. So don't worry. It's also being simultaneously casted on YouTube, and it will live on our YouTube channel. So you can also access it over there, which is great. But I think let's get started. I'm going to bring up our guests. Hello, everyone. Okay, so let me just quickly introduce. So first of all, welcome back to another Expert Drop webinar. We're hosting two talented web design agency owners today. Please welcome Nelson and Geenay. We're going to have a very candid chat today about their professional experiences, and we're going to cover topics like how to stay adaptable, how to cater to your clients, and of course, how to set boundaries with your clients. So let's jump right in and give our guests a chance to properly introduce themselves. Nelson, could you please start?
Yeah. Hi, Hi, everyone. I'm Nelson, and I've been a web designer for over 25 years. I've been using Webflow for the past decade, but now I'm having so much fun learning more things like Wix Studio to expand my knowledge and offerings to my clients. And I run a small agency with my wife called That One Couple, and you can learn more about us at thatonecouple.com, because when people ask who built your website, we just say That One Couple. And I'm also building a new web development course for kids to learn the fundamentals of web development at letspixelplay.com.
Very nice. Thank you.
Mhm.
And
can you guys
Geenay,
hear me?
take it away.
Yeah, amazing. I can't actually hear you, strangely, so I might have to leave and come back. But I'm assuming this is where I intro myself, so I'm going to do that. So my name is Geenay, and I'm the founder of Consortium Studio. We are a premium digital design studio here in London, of all places. So yeah, it's definitely freezing and it's cold, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless, so it's good.
Great. Okay, so guys, so first of all, Geenay, you can't hear us at all?
Can't actually hear you, so I'm going to go and come back. Is that cool?
Okay. You jump out, restart, and come join us. Okay, so actually, in the meantime, we can have a chat, just the two of us.
Yeah. I mean, what's a live stream without technical difficulties, you know?
That's
It shows that
absolutely
we're real and we're imperfect, and that makes us perfectly imperfect.
good. Good. That's what I hope. That's the right attitude.
Yeah.
So Nelson, actually, while we're waiting, is there anything you want to kind of elaborate about Geenay is back. Let's see what happens.
Much better.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous. Okay. Fabulous. Great. We're ready to rock and roll then. So let's jump right into our topics. I think you really touched on something great, Nelson, when you talked about expanding your toolkit, that right now you've been testing out a lot of different platforms and seeing what's available on the market. Could you share a little bit about this experience? Give us a little bit more information.
Yeah. So, I've been seeing for a longest time, and this happens for every single tool that's available to us web designers, graphic designers, and web developers. You get these communities that are formed around one tool, and then when a new tool comes along, then people start to post on social media, no, you should be using this tool. And then another community is like, no, you're wasting your time with that tool. You only use this. And it's just funny that I still see it today. Just more and more people just standing their ground. And it's like, no, this is good for everyone. Instead of learning one tool, learn the fundamentals and see how you can put that into other tools, because there's not a perfect software for every single use case or every single client out in the world. And that's why there's always new tools and new coding languages every day because people are like making tools and coding languages for 80%, but that last 20%, it's like, how do you serve them? So you have to kind of find workarounds because of the limitations. But then those workarounds, there's probably a new tool for that, but only still gets you to that 80%. And then what's that other 20%? And it just keeps going. And that's okay. Because like I said at the beginning, perfectly imperfect. It's okay. And at the end of the day, what are websites? HTML and CSS.
Mhm.
Every single website on the world is just that. So what tool can help not just yourself, but more importantly, your clients at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. And Janae, have you had this same experience where you've started to branch out and try different things?
Yeah, 100%. So for me, I actually got started in Wix probably like 5-ish years ago. And
Mhm.
for me, that made sense. I thought everyone was on Wix. I thought that was like the place to be because you kind of get so conditioned into like the thing that you start with, that's kind of what you're into. And
Mhm.
you can't really blame anyone because there wasn't exactly a lot of options, if that makes sense. I think we're getting to a space now where you have options. Like you have
Mhm.
options if you really need to focus on ecom. You have options if you really are like Figma's my jam. So I'm heading into Framer. Like all of these different places that's now available to you where beforehand it wasn't. Like you had like 4 big ones maybe. So you kind of had to choose your poison and kind of head right down that alley, and then you kind of get to know the community, and then you kind of just stay there and you're stuck there,
Mhm.
and you believe like you have to be kind of like you owe it to that community to
Very
really
loyal.
be you're the loyal one, right? And so for me, when I started out, like that was definitely the case, and still love it, still use Wix Studio every day. But there to a point where I had to get to a client who was on Webflow, wanted to stay in Webflow. So I was like, oh, okay, might need to do that. And then I had a client who was in Squarespace who wanted to stay in Squarespace. So every
Mhm.
now and then clients would pop up where they have a preference for a platform, and now what's your job? It's not necessarily to go, sorry, don't build on that platform. It's not even necessarily like, hey, whatever platform you want, I'll do it. It's what do you want, what do you need, what your goal is, and then let's see what works for you from my expert opinion, which is why people come to you. So that would be my experience.
For sure. And actually, I'll ask you both this question because I think it's important. Nelson, when you get started on a platform, what's the way that you are onboarding and getting yourself working with it?
Well, it all depends on how you like to learn. People love to learn in a traditional classroom sense where like comparing my wife and I, my wife loves lectures and she loves to sit down, write notes, and then apply it later. I am not like that. I have a very ADHD brain. I'm always like, ooh, shiny squirrel or something like that. So I'm the type that don't give me tutorials. And this is what I did with Wix Studio on one of my live streams. I just jumped straight in and clicked as many buttons as possible and get frustrated. I click a button. What does that do? I don't know. What does it mean? I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And I mean, it's all everyone's preferences. And like all these platforms, they have tutorials and they have awesome community members that create even more tutorials. And so there's so many ways to learn. But for me personally, jump in, click buttons, get frustrated, get mad, then research
Mhm.
what that button does, and then you'll be happier. And just do that for say a whole decade or something, and
See if
then
you can do
somehow
that.
you'll become the expert. But that's how I take life.
Absolutely. Janae, are you a very like hands-on learner in that sense?
Don't do that. I don't do that at all. I would throw my laptop out the window if I ever had to do that. I'd be like, what does this do? Why does it not do it? No, I don't have that kind of patience. I feel like Nelson is godsend in that sense. I was actually on that stream. It was very fun to watch you. I was like, yes, go Nelson. Click that button. No, not that one, that one. No, I am a course / cohort fiend. I have like a
Mhm.
millions of courses. So my first thing that I ever did, if I will need to learn a platform, is get someone who knows what it's about first I YouTube it, because let's be honest, like 90% of what you need to know is on YouTube already. And then if you feel like you need a bit of like an extra push, and you need to like get into nuances, then usually I would get a course from someone, because there are so many, like, what a time to be alive in the sense of you can learn anything. So for me, courses have been huge. Cohorts where someone is keeping you accountable has been massive. And even like last week I had a look around because I potentially have to do like a Squarespace e-commerce site potentially, and I was like, oh, I haven't done that one yet. And I was like, maybe I can look around and see if I can find someone who at least kind of knows what's going on there. Found like a little Notion doc that they put together. I was like, great, fantastic. And so here I am diving into whatever they've done and see. It's just it's fascinating to take someone else has figured it out, so why are you gonna why make the effort? Like, they got this, they know how to use it, and they're gonna give you like the cheat sheet to get there. And so I'm a big fan of that, for sure.
Totally. Actually, I think this is really just a segue from this comment when you said that maybe you were going to be potentially doing an e-commerce Squarespace site. That's really interesting, because what I'm hearing is that clients are coming to you with a variety of different needs and requests, and you need to figure out how you cater to those clients and what you bring to those clients and whether that's a good fit for you. Geenay, could you share a little bit about your process when you work with clients, like what your strategy is?
Yeah, so I think it obviously depends like how the client got to you. If they came through like the Wix marketplace, usually they want a really great Wix site, and you kind of steer them towards, okay, what are you looking for? Where do you want to go with it? And then potentially if they're like a referral or something, then I sit down and I have a conversation with them. So usually what that is that's over a call. And then I ask them a bunch of questions about the website that they're looking for, what kind of features it needs, what they see this growing into, kind of all of the extra nuances that they might need. So do we need integrations? Do you have like a 3D aspect that you want? What does your brand look like? Do you have a brand? Because a lot of people come to you and they have nothing, and then they're like, oh, but this is fine. I have a font or a color, and you're like, we're gonna need more than that. So it definitely, like, that first conversation gives you a lot of insight on, okay, where am I going to take you from here? What can I suggest? What can I bring to the table that goes, okay, actually Squarespace might not be the way to go. Maybe let's potentially try Shopify, or hey, Wix Studio has this e-commerce function. Do you need that, or do you need something a little more? Those questions and that little question session that I have with them, interview, I guess you could say, is massive in steps of like, what platform are we going to use? How long is it going to take? And then what budget, or where are we on with your budget? Is that realistic? Is it not? Is the time frame realistic? Is it not? So I think that first initial conversation is probably our most important one. From there, you can do a lot, but that would be an initial conversation that's much needed.
Absolutely. And Nelson, is your process similar to this, or do you take a different approach?
Yeah, it's very similar. I mean, most potential client calls are just like that. It's all about asking questions, trying to understand the backstory of why they're building this website, why they need a new website, either from scratch or a redesign, understanding their pain points, and just seeing how you can help support. It is not about you as a designer. You are helping. You are trying to basically build this new office or this new house for this business. And you want to make sure you're asking as many questions as possible, because if you're just telling the potential client what you can do for them without even listening, then you're not serving them. We are people who serve others, and we love the challenge of creative problem solving. So listen, take notes, and just give them the best solution you think is possible for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Sorry, Geenay, we got a question over here that I think could be helpful for a bunch of people. I know before you touched on the fact that you're learning with courses. If you have any platforms or if there's any channels or something that you're using right now that you think could be a nice share or something interesting, just let me know. I can drop it down here in the comments. I'll get a link to it. Otherwise, you can think about it. You can come back to it. No pressure.
No, I like it. That's a good question. Very good question. It also depends on what platform, but I'll have a think.
Sure.
If it's Big Studio, I have a good suggestion. But yeah, I'll write it down.
Perfect. Okay, we can come back to that one. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that for you guys, this interview process is like a very integral part of understanding the needs of your client and deciding if, this is what solution you want to provide for them, what's going to be the best fit for them. And I think interesting question here. We have a question here from Lisa. She was wondering if there are situations where you would not choose studio. She's saying that for her, she finds that it works for all of her needs. Before you guys start, I'm not saying this biased because I work at Wix, but I'm a really big believer in it's the creator who is able to manifest whatever dream that they have with a platform. Like I really believe that almost any platform out there is going to allow you to reach what you want. And it's up to you as the designer, as the developer, as the person who's creating to really make a masterpiece out of it. But please share your opinion. I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
Janae,
Okay.
you take it first.
Okay, so for me specifically, when I wouldn't use Wix Studio, so a good one would be a recent one that I've done. So it was a startup, and the guy has one item, okay, one product, and he is basically just did a very successful startup Kickstarter round, and so he came to me and he was like, "We want to elevate this brand. We want to really kind of go into like cool luxury furniture," because obviously he's going to extend from this first product, if that makes sense. His initial site was on Shopify, right? And that's great, but if you know anything about Shopify, it's really expensive to make it look nice. It's very expensive to get past template, if that makes sense. So for us, what we then did is go, okay, that's cool. I'm assuming you're going to need a lot of that backend with Shopify. So let's keep all of that there because you know how to use the back end of it. But let's do something different. Let's use Webflow for your front end because Webflow offers a cheaper version of really customizing a Shopify site. And then we used an integration called Shopiflow to like connect the two. So he basically had all the power of Webflow in the front end, of being able to make edits, being able to use his CMS, being able to build on it with components and stuff, but then have the back end of Shopify. So that would be a situation where I was like, why move you out of an ecosystem that you're already in? This seems to be a better option. So that would be a situation. Others could be very different, but that's the most recent one. It just really depends on like where your client is, what they're currently using. Do they need to move, or are you wanting to move? And are you kind of more afraid of like jumping out and like taking that leap and kind of venturing out, if that makes sense? So that would be an example.
Absolutely. Sorry, Nelson, there's a question here that I feel like is also a great one that I would love for you to touch on. And I saw that there's a thumbs up, so it seems like other people are interested. What happens if a client doesn't really know what they need? How are you navigating with this? Like, also for you as the creator, that must be a very frustrating situation to be in.
Yeah, and hello, Raymar. He's a wonderful community member.
Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah, we already know each other. Hey, yeah, it's all about asking questions, and there's times when like okay, so I did get a recent no from a client who was just saying, "Oh, I want this, 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 and this," but it's that saying of asking why 5 times. Why do you need the deadline yesterday? Why do you need to launch yesterday or as soon as possible? Why is your logo like this? Why is your website like this? Like, why are you frustrated with the current platform? Why are you looking for a new platform? I think when you're asking as much whys as possible, then you start to hone in on what they actually need. You
Mm.
become basically, I don't know, a therapist for websites. You know, like
Absolutely.
what is the backstory of this business? Basically,
It's
it's
true.
that, and then we're gonna go some breathing exercises to fully understand where you're at mentally. But yeah, I think that's what I do with a lot of my client calls. And there's times when it gets to the point where they still don't know what they want or need, and you propose what they need, and then they come back to you and they're like, no, it costs too much. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you do your best, and then it's just up to them to fully understand your value,
Mhm.
and knowing that you can say no to projects that just don't feel right to you.
Actually, that's a really excellent segue because we did want to touch on the power of saying no. I know this was something particularly dear to you, Nelson, about I think this kind of like psychological space also of when is it acceptable? How do you negotiate that with yourself? It's not easy to say no to a client. Like what's been kind of your ideology around that?
I mean, again, it's asking the whys, and we've Janae has talked about this in Twitter Spaces before, but it's like the power of saying no and protecting your positivity.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, we want to help solve clients' problems creatively, and it's so fun to do. And yes, we love to get paid for doing what we love to do. But at the end of the day, we are not robots. We're not AI. We're we're unless I am AI. Um, I'm so confused now.
Sometimes we're slightly worried. Sometimes we also, I'm just gonna
We're
put that out
living in
there.
simulation, but
Struggle.
yeah, you'll know it in your heart when you're having that first potential client call, when you're hearing these red flags of things like, I need it done yesterday.
Mm.
I've already been with 3 other web designers that I fired,
Mm.
or
That's a big
I
one.
want my logo bigger, and you can't ask why. I just want it bigger. So it's those red flags that, even if they're dangling money in front of you, remember that your mental health plays a part, and you want to produce the best work, and the only time you can do that is when you're having fun,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, Janae, I feel like there's a comment here that really resonated with a conversation that we had earlier. I'm going to pop it up here. Like whether it's better in the long run not to work with toxic clients. And Janae, you had touched on this like when we chatted about it earlier a bit about your experience with this. Could you share about where you stand on that?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm gonna say this blatantly. Sometimes you don't have that luxury.
Mhm.
So I remember when I didn't have that luxury, and whatever money came in is what came in, and you're winging it. And I call that the early days of freelancing. It's
Mhm.
kind of like an entrance into that industry. Like you will inevitably have bad clients. So I think to say, hey, don't work with toxic people is very easy to say.
Mhm.
So at some point you probably will work with terrible people, and it will be long and it will be frustrating, and you will be 6 months in and you'll be like, what the hell did I do? Because I've done that like 4 times where I am on month 6 of a 2-month project and like, this was a mistake, what the flip. But guess what? I learned from those
Mhm.
experiences massively. And so I don't regret any of them. I would like to take a moment to say that I'm glad it's over. But it was very necessary, and I had to learn how people think, why people are the way that they are,
Yeah.
so that I can spot when someone is that way now. So
Mhm.
now in that call, in that first initial call, and I'm sure everyone in this call knows, there are red flags where you're just like, chill, like relax, let's have a conversation, tell me about your business. So you're in this for, hey, I want to help you, I want to help your business, and they're in it for how cheap can I get it. That would be a red flag. I'd be like, nope, maybe not. So I initially think that first call, you kind of get a feel for someone. You get a feel for the questions that they ask you back. You get a feel for, are they interested in you, in the business? What in your expertise? Do they ask you for your opinion? Little things like that already makes a massive difference. But no, obviously, toxic clients are not going to help you at all in your future. The chances of that even ending up in your portfolio, because I used to tell it like, this would be great for my portfolio, but 6 months in, that project is so long gone. Like, it's looks so ugly by this point that it was not initially what you were going for at all. Maybe that's just me, but it will not end up there anyway. So yeah, in the long run, definitely not. It's not worth it. And like, but I can see why people have to. You have to go through it in the beginning anyway. So it's part of it.
You're totally right. You have to get some of those clients. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've had those clients, and it's kind of like exercising. You're hating walking into the gym, but you know that the hurt is worth it because it is the step to your next skill level. And that's what separates the novice to the experts. People who have gone through the reps and the hurt and learn from each one to make themselves better to the point they're an expert, and they have that luxury, they have that experience of, oh, this is going to be a bad business relationship. I can see the red flags because I've experienced them before when I was a novice, and now I'm going to say no.
Yep. Absolutely. I really like, I think what Geenay, what you touched on about at the beginning, you don't always have that luxury, and the fact that sometimes you got to take these clients that maybe aren't the right fit, and how you gain it like a muscle from this experience of identifying, of noticing that this isn't the right thing for you. Like, I think this is extremely valuable for everyone to learn, and I think probably anyone who's working in this industry is very familiar with both that beginning feeling and also with the end feeling of being confident enough to kind of step back from a project that's not right for them. And actually, this concept of your relationship building and the projects that you're doing, I'm curious, when you are wrapping up with your clients and you're finishing your projects, Geenay, what does your handoff look like? How are you ending that relationship?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of it would be to, like, that's our final phase. We do 4 phases. Our final phase is QA and launch. And what that basically looks like is we sit down with a client, go through everything, make sure they're happy, make sure the live site is working, the mobile is working. We're all happy with what's going on. From there, we basically take them through a client training. So my agency specifically, we don't really take on maintenance clients. I do think that's a great way to scale. And I think as the industry is evolving at the minute, people either are going to really niche down and like, hey, we only do design, hey, we only do development, hey, we only do, maintenance, or they're just going to go a full offering. So us specifically, we're not really in maintenance. So we just train our clients and then they can come back if and when they need us. That's worked better for us just because I've just found it's unnecessary to charge someone a lot of money if the whole point of the platforms that we are selling to them is, hey, you can manage this at the end. So Wix Studio's major selling point is, hey, you'll be able to change stuff. You'll be able to upload on your CMS. You'll be able to use your e-commerce. You can do all of that on your own. And I think that's a massive selling point in the beginning. But then we charged them maintenance plans at the end. Didn't really resonate. I was like, this doesn't make sense. I'm talking 2 things at once. That doesn't quite make sense. So for us, we train our clients, and then that gives them the confidence to like, hey, we want a new page. Do you mind building it for us? There's just a sort of confidence that they then exude of like, hey, they're not here just for the money. Because I think people have had so many bad experiences with like old WordPress agencies, like I'm dropping WordPress, but still old WordPress agencies that just charge them enormous amount of money to update a blog to update a blog post. And so many businesses, especially older ones, especially the ones who've been in business for a very, very long time, they're used to kind of being scammed by IT agencies of like, hey, we're going to charge you this much just to post a blog. So I'm trying to move away from that personally. And that has been a great selling point for us. So yeah, we just train our clients, we hand that off. And then if and when they want any work done, they come back to us, we charge an hourly rate, depending how big it is. We go from there. That was long, but hope that makes sense.
It made perfect sense. I completely understand how you approach it, and I think it's very nice. Like I really believe that if you have this positive working relationship with a client, that the chance that they're going to come back to you and ask to work with you again is just exponentially higher. Like I really do believe in this. We have a question here from M. Ferguson. How do you handle closing a project, and do you push a service agreement? So Nelson, I know that Geenay said that that's not her strategy. Do you have any kind of service agreement that you're working with when you close off a project?
So I'm similar to Geenay in that mindset of like, you should be empowered to maintain your own site for small things like copy changes, blog posts, adding blog posts, adding products to a website. Just like Geenay, doing training and also recording loom.com screen recordings.
Yep.
As here, keep these links or download these videos so that you can pass them off to another team member. And I totally believe in doing that kind of stuff and not charging a monthly fee. However, I still have price points. My wife and I have price points for other types of businesses. So we have the one-off projects. And then we have monthly retainers, where these are the businesses that need a new landing page or need crucial updates really quickly each month. And so we become part of their team, an extension of their team for lower cost rather than hiring a new employee. And so that's how we come in. And then for even smaller, so even with one-off projects, we offer them support beyond the launch, and we give them an hourly rate. So we're trying to meet clients where they are with different price points. And so, so that's how we do our business.
Yeah, especially because you're already completely up to speed. If you've worked with them, like you understand what their business is, it's easier for them to utilize you as a part of their team rather than to start from scratch, to bring in new people. And like I said, I'm a firm believer, having a good experience with someone, trusting someone and working with them is going to give you that push to feel really confident with your project. So I think that experience means everything.
I think if you have something over and above to add, like a lot of people do performance marketing afterwards or something. So if you have some major value to add, then that service agreement makes a lot of sense. And I think pricing it, which was another part of his question, is I would definitely see what kind of hours are you spending? What kind of hours are you selling them technically? Putting a margin on that in case it goes over. And then just being honest with them and go, hey, we're going to give you, I'm not sure, how do you price your stuff, Nelson? Because that's how I used to do it when we used to do it, but we don't anymore.
So yeah, like we just do hourly or monthly retainers and the monthly retainers is just unlimited support. But I feel like the real monthly type of subscription based type of services is really on SEO and other types of performance marketing that you're talking about, A/B testing, and Pablo, another friend.
The audience agrees with you.
SEO makes sense, because SEO is. I don't touch SEO. I'm gonna be honest. SEO is such a different game. Just playing the trends and trying to understand what's the next thing that's coming up and playing that game. And also, like I had another Wix video about this with the SEO expert. Like, what's the SEO world like when the new generation of ChatGPT and Gemini and other AI people are searching more on AI than on Google? you
Yeah.
know? So how do you do a monthly charge for that? So I mean, again, we're at that 80% again. And what's
Yeah.
that other 20%? There's always something
Absolutely.
new.
Things are evolving. There's no question
Mhm.
about that. I did also notice, I'm just gonna throw this one up here, but of course, we have the client kits,
Yes.
which is offered with Wix Studio. I think anybody who's worked with Studio and who's passed off a site knows that this is a really effective way. I think it goes back, like when you were mentioning Loom, how you can have this kind of like established, what are the main things that they need to know? How do you guide them? Giving them some brand guidance. Like this can be a really effective tool for anyone who's, you know.
It is very good. I've
wants to
used
do
it. I
stuff.
usually do my Loom videos and then I just upload it on there. It's very good.
It's fabulous. Yeah. Yes.
I
Yes.
need to check that out.
Yes, please
Very
do.
cool.
Really,
It's
it's great.
basically like just a little kit that's attached to your client's website so they can just like jump onto their dashboard and it's right there. Genius.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I suggested this one time at a Wix Studio thing last year when they just launched. So I'm just going to take credit for it. Go. They took my idea. Probably didn't, but I'm just going to go.
We'll allow it.
Royalties. It's fine.
Maybe Janae, this might be a better question for you, just because you mentioned that you go the tutorial and more kind of like course-based learning. But Tim was wondering, like, what sequence do you recommend learning the Wix platform? I suppose he's asking more like, what's the process of like when you get started and you're trying to get yourself together? I guess probably you can answer this about Studio because you would have made the shift when Studio came out. Like, what was your kind of like main thing that you tried to tackle at the beginning?
Mm. I think this counts for any platform, but I remember when I first started. Okay, so it depends. So, like you just said, he's not really a web designer. So I'll go with Nelson in the sense of, do you know the basics of web? I think that would really help. So, do you know what HTML is, what CSS is, what JavaScript is? You don't have to know how to do it, but just understand like the principles behind that. So, watch a couple of YouTube videos on like how that works, because everything on the internet is like a box model. And so it would help for you to like understand what that means, because then if you jump into Wix Studio, then when you jump into creating a section and you're bringing that section and you're dividing it into cells, and that cells have padding and little things like that, that's essential to actually understand how to use Wix Studio. So first up, I would understand that and then play around in Wix Studio. Bring in sections, divide them into cells, put padding in, bring in a text, click around as Nelson would do literally.
Yeah.
So I would start there. Then what I would do is I would go a step further into the template library, which is, they've killed it in every sense of the word. Find a simple one first because there's some advanced stuff on there. And then see what they've done, like click around, see what kind of padding they've done, how they created certain sections, how they created certain areas. So click around on templates, see if it makes sense to you, and then try and rebuild it. Then from there to in a more advanced section is find a random website on the internet, take their header and do it in Wix Studio. So now you're practicing, because it's all great in theory. And yes, I do watch a lot of courses. And the reality is I have too many of them. But half the time I watch like halfway through and then I'm like, cool, I kind of understand. And then I don't look at it again until I have an issue at a specific point when I'm actually building a client site. Then I go back and then I can apply what they have there. So technically I just have a library of people telling me how to do something that I can reference back to when I actually need to do it. Because you will not remember once you've watched it. You will not remember. You'll just remember that they taught you that. So I hope that's helpful. Like start slowly and then build that knowledge up and see if you can build stuff that you find on the internet. That's usually a good place to kind of learn, and then go animations and then go responsiveness, because that's two other ball games that we need to learn.
And
but yeah,
I totally agree. You need to learn the fundamentals first. What is HTML? What is CSS? What is JavaScript? And like Janae said, you don't have to actually write the code, but you have to understand it. And with all these, what they call low code or no code tools like Studio, Framer, Webflow, it's just a tool. At the end of the day, it's just a tool. Like, and I've always explained this to people this is how I teach. I like to use metaphors. When I say a tool like HTML and CSS, it's just like you have your goal is to get a nail into a piece of wood. You can use a rock and then hit that nail, get the job done. But that kind of hurts. What's better? A hammer. Okay, so we got a hammer, has a good weight, has a good grip. You hit the nail, you're good. But then you get studio, and what is that? That's basically a nail gun. You press one button, boom, you're done. But you understand the fundamentals. And when you can understand the fundamentals, you can go to any which tool in the world. And
Yes.
just to touch on like making sure that you understand or you play around with all different tools to understand their strengths and weaknesses, this helps you become a better expert for your future clients, because there's going to come a day when maybe a tool that you're using that you're all gung-ho about, like you just focused on just one tool, and then the business goes away. And it's
Yep.
happened to Adobe Muse. Remember Adobe Muse? Remember Dreamweaver? Front Page,
It's before my
Flash,
time. Way before my
Shockwave,
time.
GeoCities. I will keep going back back in
Way
time.
back.
That's how old I am.
Do you
But
remember pen and paper? Do you remember?
cave drawings. Let's keep going. Remember the atom and the big. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
We're gonna lose people. We're
absolutely.
gonna lose people.
No, but you really are absolutely right. Like I think those fundamentals, it's something can be something so small, like but those like aha moments where you understand the logic of something, even if you don't know how to do it yet, but just you kind of get the background and the logic, can really help you to move forward when you're starting to create more advanced sites. And I think particularly in the responsive space, when you do need to have more of a theoretical foundation of understanding why things are behaving the way they are, because that's the way that you're going to be able to troubleshoot when you run into problems. You need that base in order to push through it. So first of all, you guys gave some super sage advice, which I really loved, and it was very interesting. And I wanted to kind of like wrap up by Geenay. Are there any points or any takeaways that you feel really passionate about that you'd like to leave the audience with?
I guess for me, it would be to try and not bring yourself down in the sense of there's a lot of competition lately, if that makes sense. Like I think
Yeah.
us as web designers and web developers, because it's so easy to get into the world of web now, a lot of people are coming in, and it's really difficult to see, okay, how am I going to be different? Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to put myself out there? And I think some takeaways that I can share of what I've done that's really helped is, like we've just spoke about, learning different platforms so that you're not blindsided the moment there's a really great opportunity, a really cool client, they're great, and you're just thinking like, this is going to be a great project, and they're not quite jumping on your bandwagon of like the platform that you want to go with, and they're like adamant they want to go this way, and you can see that can work, but now you're like, I don't really know how to use that. Make a way. There is so much. There's so many tutorials and cohorts and courses and stuff out there. Like you can, if you understand the fundamentals, you can jump on almost anything. But obviously be honest with your clients. Like don't be like, hey, I'm great at this, I'm an expert, and then it's just a train crash.
YouTubing away.
Yeah. So that would be a first.
Yeah.
But also the fact like there is still a lot of space. There's a lot of space in this industry. There's a lot of space of how you can be different. And to not be shy. Like a lot of people want to work with you because of your agency, because of what you guys produce. So don't be shy to put your work out there. I think those would be my two main takeaways for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Nelson, same question to you, of course.
Yeah. I mean, be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your potential clients. And just be kind. You want to make sure that you're not just doing this for the money. There's so many people who are scamming people and just making them a quick website for really cheap. And in the end, that person is struggling to maintain their website, and it's going to cost them even more in the long run. And there's a lot of people that go through that. So be one of those kind people that show the value of what you do and how much you care, not only to get the job done, but also you care for that potential client as a human
Mhm.
and helping them with their business. Because maintaining a website shouldn't be a chore for clients. It should be something so quick and enjoyable that they can maintain focus on their main mission of their business rather
Yep.
than, oh, I have to spend 8 hours to just do this one change on my website. It's like, it's not good for anyone. So give that great experience from the first call all the way to the launch and maybe beyond.
Yep.
And just like Janae, and we already talked about, the fundamentals are so important because that's what makes you competitive. Only learning tools, but not understanding completely what they do, just makes you still a novice in the whole sense of the web design industry. If you don't understand the medium, how can you be an expert in it?
100%.
So
Yep.
yeah.
I think,
I would
like, to
also
summarize
add,
what you said, be kind and think long term. I really liked that. I felt like that really
I like that too.
very accurate.
That's cool.
Sorry,
Like
Janae, go.
that. No, I would just add like a bit of what you said. You only have one reputation, so make
Mhm.
sure like everything you're putting out there is in excellence, if that makes sense. That's something that I'm not a perfectionist in any way, shape, or form. I had to learn to be one. But you have one reputation, and so try and put the best work. I know a lot of times like we get tired, especially at the end of a project. You're just like over this. Like I just want to launch it and just get it over with. But that's when like most of that work is gonna pay off, is like the last little bit. So
Mhm.
you have one reputation, try and execute all of your client work in excellence and make them feel good, because that's, I think, the entire idea behind this, because business is hard enough. Let's be
Mhm.
honest. You don't want
Yeah.
to make it any more difficult for them so that they don't make it any more difficult for you. So
Yep.
that's what I would add.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a struggle. I think your comment about it being sort of like a therapist, it actually is a bit true. Like, they're bringing you into their life. They're giving you, someone rightly said, their business is their baby, and it's something very precious to them, and they're trusting you with it. So you're entering a very emotionally vulnerable state with them. So I think being kind and thinking about their best needs and their best interests is really important.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure if you still wanted. I know, was it Danielle, who just wanted like some recommendations on where to learn certain softwares.
Yeah.
I see she made a long comment about all the softwares that she wants to learn. I'm not that knowledgeable, but I would suggest just a quick one. Find YouTubers and people who are posting about it a lot, posting in like the partners community and stuff. See those, like, take that platform, explore the community in that platform, and there'll always
Yep.
be like one or two thought leaders in that platform, and they usually have a bit of a course or something that they are launching. So that would be the best way. So especially with all of the ones that you want to learn, that's the way to go about it. So I thought I'd just quickly add, because yes, I'm not
That's an
knowledgeable on all of that.
excellent comment. That applies to every platform out there
Every
by far.
platform.
Find the
Yeah.
community, find the people who are out there every day talking, being a thought leader. I mean, look at you guys. You're both, I think, actively doing that for yourselves. Like, I really do think that's the right place to go if you want to find good learning, some tips, whatever it is. Those are the right people to follow.
Yeah, and if you're in the partners community in Facebook, the Wix partners community in Facebook, we'll be sharing a lot of stuff on there. So go check it out there. That's the
Fabulous.
best place to learn Wix Studios. We're posting a bit of stuff on there, so that might help as well.
Guys, thank you. Really, so much.
I want to say one big thanks to you, Carly, and the Wix Studio team for bringing us both in, especially for a person who has mainly used Webflow for the past 10 years of my life. And the fact that you're open to a webinar like this shows that the company, the brand, is very, very honest and knows that this industry is just about helping people rather than, hey, we're just going to focus on this, and we're not going to talk about anything else outside of this box. So, like, much love to you and the Wix Studio team for making this happen.
That's very kind of you. Thank you, Nelson. I mean, like
Very
we said
true.
at the beginning, you two are both fabulous professionals, and we're always happy to host people who have such great experience in the market and can share so much wisdom with the community. So I really appreciate you guys joining us. And thank you so much to our audience for tuning in and asking so many fabulous
Yeah.
questions.
Loads of good
Okay,
questions. Sorry we didn't
yes,
get to
great.
everything.
Guys, have a wonderful rest of your night, and we'll see you next time at our next Expert Drop session.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.